Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in again to another episode of CivilianTacticalWeapons.com. Today's episode is going to be kind of a more historical firearm. We started a Trigger Chat, which is www.triggerchat.com, which is a social networking website for gun owners. On that section, we actually created a section called Military Surplus Firearms Surplus. So I figured this would be kind of a good discussion for that one. So this here is actually an M57. It's a Yugoslavian-made firearm. Fires a 7.62 by 25 millimeter bullet. Some of you may recognize this more as a Takarov. And it's a unique gun. I just kind of want to show you some of the uniqueness about this gun, comparing it to some of the modern firearms you may own, just to see kind of where some of these older firearms have come from. I wouldn't consider this really a tactical firearm, but it still has a lot of significance in it because of how many have been out there. Looking at the slide release, the slide release actually operates pretty normally. If you have an empty mag in it, the slide release won't work. It won't accept an empty mag. You also can't dry fire this gun without a magazine in it. If I go ahead and I pull the magazine down, drop the slide, now the actual gun can fire. I want to talk a little bit about the trigger design to this. Keep in mind, we've already inspected this gun. We actually have no 7.62 by 25 millimeter ammunition even around. It's not an easy amount of ammunition to find. You can find it, however, if you do live in an area that has a lot of gun shows and stuff. You can buy a lot of it on the internet, but you're not going to walk into a Walmart or Academy and pick up 7.62 by 25 millimeter. So what I want to actually show you here, and kind of the reasons why I don't recommend you running out and say, ooh, I need to get one of those, unless you're looking at trying to build a collection of historical firearms that you may never even really fire. If you think about the trigger distance, so here's, most of the time when you're shooting a gun, you're going to shoot the gun with your trigger finger really kind of running up at the tip of the trigger pull. You don't really want to be coming far over on it. However, with this particular gun, you create so much shake because it requires so much force to pull it back that if I hold this gun, and I'm keeping my left arm fairly loose, to actually pull the trigger, it's very tough. What ends up happening is you end up riding your finger further over the trigger to be able to more comfortably pull this trigger. Okay. The problem with that is your chance of pulling the shot to the left, because of the way that trigger is designed, you're not going to be very accurate with this gun. So that is the thing I want you to note about it. This trigger is a very sloppy trigger. If you look at the way guns were designed, they were designed, how fast can you produce a gun? Can you produce it in the fewest amount of parts, which is actually something I'm going to show you about this with this gun. And how reliable is this gun in bad areas, bad environments? And that's really where this gun kind of excels. So if you're thinking, if you look back to World War II, and you're looking back to where these types of guns came from, can I drop in the mud? Can it sit out there in the dust? Dust, dirt, mud, snow, whatever. I mean, think about all the battles in World War II and the environments that happened in that area. You need to have a gun that's designed to work in those. How accurate it can shoot? Well, let's be honest. In World War II, these were really designed for point-blank shooting. You've ran out of ammunition in your primary gun. You're an officer, you ran out of ammo, whatever. You're pulling this gun out as a last-ditch resort for point-blank defense. So, maybe accuracy wasn't even really a main requirement that they were looking at. But they were looking at something that every time you pull the trigger, the gun would go bang. So, here's some more weirdness about the way you design it. There's a clip on the side. And I'm going to use the actual magazine here. Just pop that clip off. And that allows you to pull slide release off the top. And I talked about minimal parts and stuff. I'm actually going to go ahead and pull the entire hammer system out. And yeah, you're right. There wasn't, if you notice that, I didn't actually pull any tools or remove any pins or anything. It just pops right out the top. So serviceability, it's actually kind of cool that you can just kind of pop it in and out. And work on it. Let me show you some other kind of strange components of this. I'm going to go ahead and pull the spring off the bottom, just like any gun. Push it forward just a hair to pull it out the bottom. And that's pretty normal. So now you have the barrel, and you would think, okay, I'm going to push the barrel forward to then pull it out the bottom. Well, that doesn't work. This gun has a bushing on the front, and you pull the bushing out of the front of the gun, and you take the whole barrel out of the front of the gun. Those of you who own a bunch of different firearms, this is not a normal process. In fact, I can't think off the top of my head of any modern firearm that actually does this. Some of you may or may not may recognize one, but it's not a very common design. What are the benefits of that? I don't know. I mean, if you think about the way a modern firearm pulls it out the back, you can do that based on tolerances. I mean, think about manufacturing years ago versus now. I mean, now if you want to manufacture something, you can get something to .00 whatever, right? It really comes down to how much you're willing to spend to determine how tight you want to make those tolerances. Back here you had to have very loose tolerances. So maybe this design was actually made for kind of what your manufacturing options were back then, and how fast you could manufacture things. So. So I just want to kind of share this with you, just because it was kind of an older gun. Some of you may find it interesting. I'm finding that more and more of you are writing to me, asking me about some of the older World War II guns. So I figured I'd just do kind of a little brief segment, just sharing this particular one. For those of you who may own one of these type of Takarov guns, if you think of like the AKs, the Takarovs are also very similar. They were produced just about everywhere. So this is a Yugoslavian one. I'm pretty sure you could find them in pretty much all of the Eastern Bloc countries. I know that there's a Chinese version of it too. So very popular gun. A lot of them were made. And I just kind of want to share it with you and see if you're interested in it, just as far as a good discussion point. So remember, if you have any questions, please email me at info@civiliantacticalweapons.com. And of course, you can always go to triggerchat.com and go ahead and discuss any video that we show here. The discussion for this video will actually be on triggerchat.com under the military surplus section.